do you say we give this game a nickname since its title is a little too long? Cute, but still too long. Yeah, let's just stick with that. No rule of 3 this time. So when Sony All-Stars was first announced, not counting the leak, it instantly drew parallels with the obvious source of inspiration. If they were trying to bank on the success of Smash, I'd look very poorly at this game and then hit the devs over the head with a newspaper. But I gotta give props to those guys for not dodging the question and even flat out saying that they've played and love Smash Brothers like so many of us. Love that classy response. So now Sony will have their own crossover party fighting game with systems selling in history legacy characters that help make the PlayStation a mainstay in video games. You can almost hear the fans saying, "I can't wait to play as the big-time PlayStation characters like Crash and Spyro and Snake and Cloud and Lara Croft and Kevin Butler." Wow, that's a whole lot of disappointment. Granted that at that time, and as of this video, 5 of those are now third-party characters, and Kevin was fired for playing Mario Kart. What a monster! Won't someone please think of the children? I couldn't get a reason for why Cloud and Lara Croft didn't show up, but I'll take a guess and say Square. I have a hunch as to why Snake didn't sneak in, and this was the only thing I could find about the absence of Crash and Spyro. At this point, fans would riot if they didn't have Nathan Drake, Ratchet & Clank, Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, Kratos, and... female Kratos? Does anyone even remember Heavenly Sword? On a similar note, does anyone know someone who threw down $40 because it had Fat Princess? I'm sure there's one person out there that did, cause there's always that one! But hey, I knew I was going to fork over $220s in tax because of Spike! I need an Ape Escape 4 or an HD Trilogy remake, Sony! If this tease doesn't deliver, I'm buying the next Xbox. After its release, the game was met with decent to responses, and we'll be going over why that is later. They did their best to update the game with patches and DLC, and that's where we started to run into some trouble. You see, the game had at least 2 more DLC characters planned, and then all of them were cancelled, and it was usually contributed to low sales. Oh, the game itself sold over 1 million units, which is normally good, but it wasn't as successful as they were hoping for. It just wasn't enough to keep making more DLC or even a sequel. I'm guessing the low sales didn't cover the cost of all the licensing for guest characters that were there, but that's just my assumption. You'll still find fans of this game hoping for another installment someday, but they said it might have to be a different mechanic, and with the developer studios shutting down as well as the aforementioned needs more sales, we'll probably end up seeing most of these characters make it into Smash before it gets a sequel. The last bit of maybe interesting news was that they were originally going to shut down the online service for this and some other PS3 games back in October 2018, but they were extended to January 31st, 2019. I just thought it was neat that they let it live for an extra 3 months with no other reason than it was for the fans. And I respect that. Okay, let's try and make this easy. Up to 4 people can play at a time. There's items and stage hazards, time and stock, grabs, taunts, and there's button commands to button and direction and button. I wanted to go over the likenesses to Smash first before going over the differences to make it easier to understand. Instead of knocking someone out of the picture, you build up the little super meter at the bottom. Whether Ultimate used that idea from this game or not, I'll let you debate that in the comments. I personally thought the idea was inevitable. Anyway, you can build it up to 3 levels. The supers quality range from character to character, so you have to plan how to use them properly. But it's what you expect. Level 1 is weak, level 2 is good, and level 3 seals their fate. Using a super is the only way to score in this game. In time, a KO is worth 2 points each, but getting knocked out loses a point. And in stock, it's the last one standing, or get to a certain amount. Oh, and there's a third set of moves to use instead of attack and special. But most of the moves function the same in the air as they do on the ground, so I guess you could say aerials are the third moveset for Smash, and I better not go any deeper, otherwise I'll be here all week. Bottom line, build up your super meter, time it right, and win! After each match, you get points to level up your character. But it's just to unlock all costumes and things. It's not like an RPG where you raise your stats, it basically just shows how much time you've spent on them. Even getting them to level 999 isn't treated as anything special. You don't even get a no-life trophy earned. To make matters even more confusing, there were times where it looked like I leveled up a bunch in one go, but when I went back to the character select screen, it only went up about 2. You can explain this, but if you defend this, then I hope it happens to you in every game you play. In case you are wondering, this is pretty much how you'll spend most of the time in the game. The other sections are a mission-like mode, an online mode, but it's kind of the same as regular battles and it's dead now, and arcade/story mode. Every character gets a couple of screenshots telling us why they're here. Man, they really blew the budget on getting "no one wanted this version of Dante" into the game, didn't they? You battle opponents, the rules will change from time to stock, and let's talk about their rivals. Their rivalries are supposed to be sort of like an Easter egg, like the friendship between Naughty Dog and Insomniac, or battle between treasure hunters, which was probably the best one and felt the most natural, unlike most of the others, which were more forced than a developer giving a terrible excuse for a stupid decision. My favorite was Nintendo saying they couldn't have friends online for Mario Maker 2 because of the ranking system. Alright, I gotta give one more little bit of credit. The cutscenes are not completely the same when you use the rival in story mode. Similar, sure, but it's new voice lines and animations, so that should count for something, right? When you defeat them, you'll face Polygon Man, also known as Wasted Potential. It keeps saying, I am supreme. But all it does is create fighters for you to beat again, become the background hazards, and slam its head into the ground the same way I want to slam my hand into my face. If this was all I could do, then it's no wonder why Sony dropped it as the mascot for the PlayStation.
How could this happen? None have beaten me until now.
That's because no one has seen you since you were cast into exile. And then you're rewarded with more screenshots, and I have to wonder what the motivation for doing any more than one is. Sorry, but I don't think these carrots are enough to keep me coming back. They all basically end in a similar manner by saying they're ready for whatever comes their way thanks to the power they've acquired. The rival scenes are only there to be mocked at, and all the base game characters and stages have already been unlocked at the start, so why bother investing around 30 minutes to do this for each one, especially when it just feels like you're doing nothing more than playing their game regularly? Yeah, arcade mode. It's as much fun as it sounds.
Peaceful cuddles, Mr. B.
The next one is basically a mission mode where you complete objectives based on certain conditions. It's one of those, it'll make you better at this game kind of deals, but doing Spike's get 3 kills with a level 1 super in one go makes me thankful that there's nothing of value to be gotten from doing this. Which brings us to the online mode, and there's quick play with random people, play with friends, and the ranked mode where your rank is based on a belt which gets better or worse depending on your performance. This mode is now dead, and to be honest, I only miss playing with friends online, but I'll go into that later. For now, let's look on the bright side. Well, the characters behave and feel like they should. Well, to the best of my knowledge and understanding. I appreciate seeing the level of detail to certain animations like Daxter swimming in the air trying to get back to Jack, or Sir Daniel's everything. Having the system of 3 different level supers helps create this sense of uncertainty. They might save up for a devastating level 3 or catch you off guard with a level 1. It makes you want to be cautious about dealing with your opponents, but at the same time, you can do the same tactics. Then again, since some characters actually have a good level 1 super, they could just use that the entire match and get a cheap victory. Be advised, you're not invincible when you activate them. Levels 1 and 2 can be cancelled when they're attacked, even by a weaker super move. Level 3, well, you're basically unstoppable. Some level 3 supers let you get more than 3 kills, whereas others are, just use them right away, no bright power needed, now watch everyone disintegrate and your avatar will dance for you. Oh yeah, that guy. That's all it's there for, is to cheer you on and nothing more. Some level 3 supers like Kratos can last long enough to get 3 KOs from the same person. I wonder if the devs actually knew what balance meant. Wait, why am I bringing up negatives in a positive section? Back to good. Oh, of course! The stages! I love how you start in one series, and then another series merges into it, and it's usually something that completely clashes with the tone of the series it's from. Ratchet & Clank, meet the Hydra from God of War. Loco Roco, wave hello to a Metal Gear! I love seeing which series was going to drop in and try to steal the spotlight from the stage. The music also changes when this happens, trying to fuse the two franchises even further, thus adding to the chaotic battles going on. I wish we could have seen more characters from the series already represented be playable, such as Captain Quark, Dr. Nefarious, and Spectre. But to give credit where it's due, the roster doesn't have its share of Echo fighters. Though Cole and Evil Cole are the only ones that border on that line. There are some characters I just can't use to save my life, like Sackboy and Jak and Daxter. Thankfully, I do have 2 characters I can always pick up and play as, those being Spike and Ratchet & Clank. And sometimes Parappa the Rapper. There's just something so satisfying about having a 4th grader beat down a character like Kratos. Quite honestly, I think the game is at its best when it's out of control. The more players, stage hazards, and items you have on, the better in my book. Yeah, I hate that the item button is the R1 button, and I can never actually remember that when I'm playing, but some of those items can really turn the tide of battle. Freezing opponents, stunning them, spinning around with an axe, using a dual-sided blade that causes an explosion on contact, making sure they can't use a super move for a while, and of course, knocking them around with a fish. Best weapon in the game! Lastly, I have to say that the theme song is kinda catchy, especially this one part. Yeah, I'm not gonna forget that hook for a while. Just like I'm not gonna forget the downsides of this game either. What you've seen is pretty much all there is to the game. The story mode takes way too long, there are no bonus rounds of any kind, it gets too repetitive too quickly, and there's nothing to get from it but a trophy for clearing it. Playing with others is the best way to get the most out of this, but make sure it's not just a one-on-one. This game is horribly unbalanced. Kratos, Dante, and Radek come to my mind about how busted this game can be. Kratos and Dante are both combo-happy characters with long-range attacks that can close the gap easily, and by the time they've finished, they might just have a level 2 super and a half. Radek was something I didn't even know about until I played online in those last few months and saw this guy just camping, but he has a move that lets him get away while dropping a bomb, making it hard to keep up while simultaneously building his super if you try to chase after him. And the connection wasn't faring too well, so his level 1 super, which he would get instantly thanks to the cheap shoot and roll tactic, would always get the job done. Speaking of connections, if there was one thing, just one thing, I wanted this game to do better than Smash, it was the online play. Brawls Online wasn't exactly the most difficult thing to surpass, so I hope that they can do a better job, thus forcing Nintendo to really focus on that area next time. How could you be worse? Brawl lagged and dropped, but at least I can make out what was happening. I have no clue what went wrong here. Yeah, their service was free back then as well, but when Brawls Online looks better, you really have to put your heads down in shame. The roster, while having some nice additions, had this glaring issue of focusing on current or new release titles instead of the characters that made an impact on the PlayStation, or at least had a version of the characters that fans would have greatly preferred. Dante is just so easy to pick on, and I haven't even played DMC. Getting this version instead of the well-known version is like seeing what would happen if Sakurai picked new Pac-Man over classic Pac-Man. Or worse? And I believe that having Metal Gear Rising Revengeance come out is why they picked Raiden over Solid Snake. The game really felt like it was just advertising current or upcoming games instead of honoring their legacy. While on a similar note, they do give some history on the characters, but they don't explain anything else like the Hedgehog Grenade from Resistance Fall of Man. I sure would like to know where they pulled most of these things from, and a little more about them as well as the characters that pop up in the background. Starting from Melee, Smash had those trophies of characters, items, and even stages that felt like little museum trips honoring their respective games and characters. It didn't add that much to the gameplay besides collecting, but it felt so nice and had a caring feel to them that you just wanted to learn more and more about the most trivial stuff. You are not off the hook. If there's a way to describe Sony All-Stars, it comes off like this. They might have studied the skeleton of Smash, but they didn't study its heart and soul. The game lacks in so many areas, features being the top offender, and the balancing is so poor that there's no way it can be taken seriously as a competitive fighter. That's not to say that there's no redeeming value to the game, there absolutely is, and if there's a series you love that's here, you'll more than likely play some matches as that character. And then put it down, and maybe come back to it later. I have this as sort of a guilty pleasure. I can have some enjoyment out of the hectic multiplayer madness, but I can't take it seriously. A 3 out of 5. Solid rental. Buy it cheap. I'm thinking about dropping these credits or at least shortening them in the future. At least they'll never be as long as the one in this game. It goes past the 30-minute mark. Oh right, this was also a cross-buy game with the PS Vita, which is really generous, buying one game and then getting it for the handheld for free. That's super cool! Except that I haven't encountered anyone actually playing a Vita in real life. Ouch. Forgot to mention the overtime. Here your special meter doubles, and if it's still a tie, it increases even further! It's kind of funny for some reason that I can't put my finger on, but right here is probably one of the most enjoyable modes of the game that I wish was a normal mode. Wait, is it? Man, I wish I tested it out before doing the review on my PS3 stopped working. Again. I also thought that at one point I heard them say that they made this game because PlayStation fans wanted their own style of Smash, and I'd like to give them even more credit for that, but I can't find the interview anymore. I'll pin the comment that does. Nice to finally have another review done, and I'm sorry it's taken me this long to do one, but that's not going to happen again. I'm not entirely sure what the next ones I'll be focusing on are, but I'm pretty sure the next one is Super Mario Maker 2. And with all that said, I'll see you guys in another video. Later, everyone!